The RX 350 continues to be in the headlines and news with a few things. Everything from vehicle thefts to the front design and nose and the 4-cylinder engine, but we continue to sell more RX than ever before. In this video, I'm gonna show you why in 2024 the RX 350 is doing so well. I'm gonna show you a beautiful color combination with a macadamia interior, one of my favorite color combinations, and a little bit about what Lexus changed just a few weeks ago, mid-year, about how you can order an RX. So as we get into some of the design language, this is the pearl white color, and I think it complements a few features of the exterior very well. One of them being the grille. So since the grille is sort of like a little bit of different grays, so we have a lighter gray in the center, and then sort of on the edge, it's almost like a black, and then that top nose piece that I do hear some hate in the comments for, some people love it, some people don't, is that matching body color. And I think it gives a really nice contrast to the white more than to the other accents, or sometimes with different colors, it'll draw your eyes towards the different color than the body color, if that makes sense. With this one, it actually just really blends in nicely. We have a little bit of a lip here as well, and those parking sensors are quite hidden. There is a fog light and a turning light that not a lot of people realize when they're test driving these cars, especially in the summer months when usually you're test driving them in the daytime. But we have a fog light that you can turn on and off, and then that turning light, when your wheel or signal is on, too much of an angle, I guess, or like, you know, engaged, you'll see that light up the curb, which is really good too. The headlights are some of the best in the market right now. So this particular one is the executive package, and that means it has the triple beam LED headlights with adaptive intelligent high beam. And because of that, they're super bright, they move as you steer, and they'll also shut off certain filaments or certain bulbs depending on if there's, you know, a pedestrian or someone in that line. So it's like what they used to do with the automatic high beams, where the headlights would just turn off, or the high beams would just turn off. Now it's only turning off what is in the way, or like what is blinding someone. So that's really good, that not a lot of people realize, because usually you test drive in the daytime. Also, we have that beautiful daytime running light that's like a frosted, really crisp LED underneath them. The housing itself is really sharp, so we have some black accents in the back as well as sort of on the outside, and there is this other little light sort of in there that again just turns on when you have your signals on and stuff like that. Other than that, we also have some body lines up here on the hood, so a really steep sort of curvature towards the vision lines as it goes towards the front of the hood, and that overlays to that nose that I mentioned earlier and goes all the way up to that fender. So a few other technical features is going to be the heated Lexus emblem for two reasons. One is there is a sensor in there. You know, you want to keep that clear of snow and things like that. But my favorite part is just the fact that it stays clear of snow and that you can see that you're driving a Lexus, even if the front grille is covered in sleet and ice and stuff like that. We also have a 360 panoramic camera underneath, as well as a washer for those headlights hidden into that bumper as well. Going to the side profile and continuing on with some nice contrast is this 21-inch alloy wheel with a Bridgestone Sport All Season attached to it. Again, with that white, it's almost like they were made for each other. It doesn't have the big brakes that you would get on like an F-Sport model, for instance, but the styling itself ties in quite nicely. Above that, we have a color-matched fender flare with a little bit of a mudguard underneath. And you'll see even above the fender flare, it sort of has a little bit of a continuation of a straight sort of up and down panel. However, if you just look at the side of the RX, usually I have the windows rolled up, but because this beautiful macadamia nut interior is so beautiful, I wanted to really show off that white on macadamia. And we'll see that we have a little bit of black accents. So the B pillar, for instance, is like a piano black. Same with this little triangle here on the C pillar, and then that glass that sort of flows to the back. The handles also have some black on the top and bottom, and they are the electronic latch handles that I've had the chance of getting to know over the last couple years on both the NX and RX, and I do love them. There was some earlier models that were built that in a very humid but cold area, they could freeze a little bit. But Lexus fixed that right away, and anything built as of recent has, been away with that, and most of them got fixed actually too. On the inside, we have that, again, electronic door latch handle. So when you go to leave the vehicle, you just depress your thumb and sort of open up, and it does it in one motion, and I absolutely love that. We also have some chrome, so a little bit of chrome on that mirror cap and around those door panels. You'll also see that when you open up the panoramic roof, it does go upwards because it's panoramic. So there's nowhere for it to go inside the vehicle. So when you have it parked, and if that is up, you will see it a little bit. It doesn't actually create too much wind noise though, so that's really good. On the bottom of the doors, we have some black plastic and a little bit of a sweeping body style. You probably wouldn't notice that body styling unless you get up really close, and then when you feel it, you're like, oh, that actually has some volume to it. So really good design there. On the silvers, I say you would see that more often. On the whites and black cars, you don't really see it too much. And then we have another body line sort of sweeping up from the top of those doors. And that brings me to the back. Okay, so going to the back of the RX, and one of my favorite hatches of any Lexus in the lineup is the RX, because one main reason. The wiper is hidden up underneath this visor. It's absolutely genius. It stays out of the way until when you need it, then it comes flying down. Every Lexus should have that. Every car should have that. Current car should have that. You should have that. And it's a really great design. So thank you, Lexus, for doing such a good job with that. Otherwise, we have the new LEXUS logo underlined by that beautiful taillight that goes from one side to the other. At nighttime, it looks really sharp, especially in like a white or black car in the dark. You can just really see that stick out, and I think it's really, really cool. We also have another little secret design language here, where on the side of the taillight, it kind of has that little L shape or Lexus sort of signature that wraps around a little bit three-dimensional. In fact, when you get up to the RX, whether it's the headlights or taillights, they do look really three-dimensional. They've done a really good job with that. Underneath that, we have the RX 350 all-wheel drive. We have a bit of that body-matched coloring at the top of the bumper, and then it goes into some different grays and blacks. So this piece right here above the gray is like that textured, durable plastic, and then an actual painted gray, and then more of that durable plastic underneath. This being the executive, there really isn't any rear diffuser underneath like the sport packages would have. It is really just flat, and they really tuck that exhaust up underneath. That's a design language we've seen over the last couple of years. As soon as EVs started to become a big player in the marketplace, brands like Lexus didn't want their cars to look super outdated come 5 years from now when they're on the road and when everything is electric or more things are electric and hybrid. They didn't want, Lexus to have this smokestack coming out of the rear of the vehicle. So really good job there for some future proofing. And I think with that said, we should take a look at that trunk space. All right, so looking inside, we have that trunk that opens very smoothly and quickly, and you can do it with your foot underneath the bumper. You can do it with a key, or you can do it by just pressing that button there. Inside, we have the summer floor mats, which I'm just gonna move out of the way because the winter ones are in it right now. We have this very nifty net that to open up, you're just gonna unzip, and then it sort of is folded nicely like a parachute. Inside there, you just take that hook, sort of hook it to the top of each side. So now we'll have a space to put any loose items. And that's really important in any type of hatchback or SUV, because we've all been there where we put something in our trunk and then you take a corner and you hear it, rummaging around in the back. And no one wants to come into their trunk and have a broken bottle of wine from Niagara wineries back there, for instance. So putting your wine or other breakable items into this net is really handy, and since it folds up so nicely, it doesn't take up any space. I don't think anybody ever really puts these in their garage like they would perhaps the tonneau cover, but it does fold up back in its original shape, and then you can just run that zipper from one side to the other, tuck it all in, and Bob's your uncle, it's back together. Above that, we have the tonneau cover. So it just slides and clicks in, and it is a different design from previous generations. And to release it, you just sort of lift up on it as well. And even the little mechanism is a little bit different. A lot of people do take that out and move it out of the way and forget about it. I do get that because if you have something tall, you might want it out of the way, but to each their own. Also back here, we have a couple switches to the left for power folding seats up and down, and they're individually for left and right. We also have the little grocery hook beside that, and you can hook any type of grocery bag, and also a 12-volt cigarette lighter style adapter. So that's really good for coolers and stuff like that if you need to plug in any type of lifestyle accessories. Now underneath we have a little bit more space. So if you unhook your net and sort of roll that carpet up a little bit, there's a little handle here. It's all black and it's spring loaded. That is important to note. And when you lift it up, we have a bunch of stuff. We have a full size spare tire. And sometimes people in the comments say, that's not a full size, it's still like a temporary tire. It is a temporary tire, but it's not like the donut tiny one that, you know, you can only go 5 kilometers an hour. I think this one is rated for perhaps 80 kilometers an hour. Probably I wouldn't do that for very long, but it is enough to get you and your family to a repair. We also have the medic kit as well as some user manuals and stuff like that. Lexus was starting to go away from the user manual thing when the previous NX came out. So back in, I think 19 or 20 for the refresh, where everything was from the screen, and then we're sort of back to the books. People did like that. There is this big cavity here where I have these books right now. They are Velcro, so sometimes people just stick them in different areas of the trunk, but I figured why not take as much use of the space as we can. And we also have some tools sort of follow further back there, as well as a jack. Again, very easy to get to if ever an emergency, but Lexus comes with roadside when they're new for the first couple of years, 4 years actually. So I don't think most of our owners use those things, but if you're ever in a pinch, it is there. Now there is another secret feature, and I'm just gonna see if I can show it on camera. I may not be able to, but there is a way to be able to prop open that gas door if needed to in an emergency. I'm not gonna be able to show you that today. If you wanna see it, let me know in the comments and perhaps I can do that on another video. Okay, so something I've never done on camera before is use the kick sensor. So all you gotta do is walk up, put your foot in, put your foot out, and it'll open up. A lot of times people will try to like swipe their leg. That should work too. Or that put your right foot in, put your right foot out. That'll also open it. You can also close it that way by just putting it underneath there. Again, you just gotta make sure you have the key with you. You have to make sure all the doors are shut, because if they're open just a little bit, it might prevent it. And also you have to make sure that the vehicle hasn't already been unlocked and opened up, because then the car gets confused. It thinks maybe a cat ran underneath. You don't want that. The best way is to do it just as you approach. So if your key was in your pocket and you're walking up to the car with your hands full for that first time, using that kick to open it up is very handy, and you'll get used to it. Just don't do it when you're on ice or something like that, because then you'll slip. You only have one foot on the ground. Be careful, be safe out there, people. So, sitting in the 24 RX, as I mentioned, the macadamia nut interior is an absolute dream. And this is the executive package, so we have a lot of executive features here. Design-wise, so the macadamia interior, it's almost like, I would say warm white is the best way to describe it. We have these seats that have ultra suede inserts, sort of on the sides and upper shoulders, as well as the outsides of your legs. And it's one of the most comfortable seats in the lineup right now. It doesn't have as much going on as like the F Sport seats, and I'm used to driving an F Sport RX right now, and I do really like these executive seats. One particular feature blows my mind with how much it makes a difference for being a tall guy, and that is the under thigh support. I call it under leg support, but essentially you can extend this part of the seat out by quite a bit. In fact, I can actually reach it here and show you. So I would say it must come out like, I don't know, 10 inches or something like that. And being tall, it's really nice on those long drives to have a little bit of support underneath your knees, and it just helps with fatigue and stuff like that. So I really like that. I always have it pretty much cranked the whole way. Also, we do have some nice ultra suede on the sides of the headrest, which is kind of cool. The rest of it is perforated leather. They're heated and cooled, and the heated seat in particular heats up very quickly. So I usually like to keep it on 3, and lately I've been turning it down to like 1 because of how quickly it heats up. Also in the executive package, we have 4-way lumbar support. So if you know, lumbar support usually just sort of pushes on your lower back in one area, one predetermined area, but everybody's different and wants that type of pressure in different areas. So what you can do is raise that up to like the middle of your back instead of just the lower back. So that's a really nice feature if you're someone that has any type of back problems. Having that 4-way lumbar support is a really big deal. And you can save that in your settings as well for your memory seats. Which, speaking of memory seats, it does have 3 different memory seat sort of functions. So you can set your steering wheel, your side view mirrors, as well as your seat, all from 1, 2, and 3. I like it because even when I'm sharing a car with someone, I'll have me as number 1, the other person is number 2, and then number 3 is me again, but in a different configuration. So instead of being my, white knuckle Toronto traffic type mode, number 3 can be sort of my relaxed, long trip mode where my whole posture and everything is just a little bit more laid back. I guess that's the chill Dustin. So one of them is no chill Dustin, number 3 is chill Dustin. Maybe that's what I do. Let me know if that's what you do too. So we do have some brown accents. So the leather here is sort of like a dark chocolatey brown. Same with on the door panels and a few other places. The wood accents is like a matte, it's not bamboo, it's a little bit darker than bamboo. And that's on the steering wheel as well as in the center and also a little bit on the dash. And it's not just an exact, replica of everything. Like every panel sort of has its own design to it. It doesn't have that gloss like the previous generation RX had. Like I said, it's more of a matte color, which is nicer to look at. It's a little bit softer to touch. It hides the fingerprints a little bit, which is important. And that reminds me, there's more ultra suede on that dashboard, up on that one panel that just sort of like, it's like an overlap panel. And actually the ambient lighting lights that up. So again, creates that really warm and welcoming, calming type RX interior. And when you're sitting in the RX, that's what you feel, is that it is very spacious, especially when compared to an NX. The RX has a lot more space in front of you, and that's to just create that, open concept type interior, which is nice. In terms of features, we have in the center here, our gear shift knob. So this is the shift by wire design. So you just sort of like put it in gear and it snaps back into place. The park is the P, so you just press P for park. We have a brake hold, so if you've never used a brake hold before, the nice thing about that is if you're in traffic or at the drive-thru at Starbucks like I am, I can hit brake hold, let go of the brake, and give my leg a little bit of a rest. And then when I want to move forward, I just hit the gas and it moves me again. We also have traction control off. You're never really going to use that too often unless you're stuck in a snowbank or a mud bank, depending where you live. And that just turns off that. Traction control gives you all more power to the wheels, but sacrifices things like stability, etc. Then we have a couple different drive mode selectors there. So again, there's like a mud and snow mode, etc. We have a quick hard button to be able to override the auto off feature. So if you don't know what the auto off feature is, it's when you're at a red light and conditions are proper. Even though this is a gas vehicle, not a hybrid, it'll shut off that gas engine. Everything else will stay running, your HVAC, your screens, all that stuff. And then as soon as it goes green, you can just let go of the brake and it'll start up the engine and you can drive again. Now, it does give a little bit of people anxiety because technically there is a little bit of a delay there. So if you were in a situation where you needed to accelerate really quick from a stop, if that engine just shut off, it takes like a split second for it to turn back on. Once you get used to it, it's not bad. You'll notice when I'm driving, I'll sort of like anticipate that green light. So if I'm there at the red and the car has shut off, I'll just twitch that brake a little bit and that tells the car to turn back on. So a little funny, or you can just override it with that button there. And then we have downhill assist behind that. So just like it explains, it uses the engine and transmission and things like that to sort of control you going down a steep hill. The armrest is also macadamia nut. You can open it from each way, and there is even a way for you to just do it very seamlessly without having to put too much pressure. So that's nice, you can open it from both sides. Also, we have a wireless charger in the front pocket with a USB-C and a USB-A or B, whatever it's called. And I always forget that there is a 12-volt sort of outlet there as well. Above that, we have 2 USB-Cs and another little shelf for your phone. The only problem with putting your phone in there on the wireless charger is you might forget it when you go into the store, which isn't a bad thing. I don't know about you, I'm addicted to social media. Anytime I can get away from my screen is good because I look at that thing all the time, especially my Instagram. Then we have some vents that you can just control. Nothing to write home about there. There is a nice little angle to the handle, like it's kind of sort of staggered, like it's like away from the center bar, which makes sense. And then we have the intelligent parking assist, as well as our panoramic view monitor. So when you press the P, as you're in a parking lot, it'll, if you line up your mirrors to where you want to go, it'll sort of show up on the screen where you want to park. The car will park itself. I can park faster than this, as I told one of my good guests the other day. However, for some people that maybe don't want to, go through the stress of having to park in a tight area, you can just let the car do itself. I leave the bird's eye view or panoramic view monitor on all the time. You can put it in automatic so that when you slow down or you go to stop, even if you're at like a red light, it'll show a front-facing camera as well as the bird's eye view. So I just have that on all the time so that, when I'm in tight traffic, I can just look at my screen and see a little bit more of that, which is nice. And because that has the new Lexus multimedia screen, we have a ton of customization on there, as well as a really sharp, optically bonded glass. I will say, from the factory, we'll see if this one has it. It has a screen, oh, it does. Okay, I'm not gonna take it off. Most RXs on the road today still have the screen protector on, so please pay attention to that. How you'll know is if you put your fingernail in the corner and you'll peel it off. And that is the most satisfying thing a car salesman can do, is peel off the screen. But that is supposed to be done by the new owner. It's hidden. So I had a great guest of mine who's bought a lot of cars for me think there was a little bit of a flaw on his screen. And I told him, I think it's a screen protector, please go home and check. And when he got home and checked, sure enough, the screen protector was already on there. Even though the salesperson swore that it wasn't on there, it still was. So be mindful of that. Once you turn on the screen, we have automatic climate control in both sort of sections here, or zones. And I always forget to mention this, it looks really nice. There's like almost like a multicolor rainbow design. It's very sharp when you move the rubber wheel, which does feel really high end. There's these nice clicks to it. Automatically, I can already feel my seat heating up because it's set to auto, so we're just gonna shut that off real quick. And you can override the fan speed by just sliding this left and right. And you can recirc or do fresh air, doesn't matter, all through that. Also, if you really needed to defrost, you could just hit front, or the rear defrost is right to the right as well. In the screen, I've done lots of videos on this, so I won't get into it too much, but there is some customizable options. Definitely spend the time customizing the options, because you can change things like ambient light, you can change some custom drive modes, you can see things like, trip information, drive assist, all that. Make sure you turn on proactive driving assist. A lot of people turn it off. I absolutely love it. It's part of the safest features we've had, and it's definitely worth turning on. Okay, so now let's just focus on all the controls that are on the steering wheel. So we do have that new intelligent sort of soft touch steering wheel that shows up on the heads-up display. So you can customize these buttons to do a bunch of things. I know some people have had trouble seeing it or having it work all the time. I've had a great experience with it. Even in the winter with my cold fingers, it has worked really well. I like that I can change the display and what I see up there, but most of the time I'm just using that cruise control. I'll hit the cruise control, the adaptive cruise control, I'll let the car do its thing. Maybe I'll adjust the distance a little bit. And when it's in cruise control, it sort of locks out the other features. So if you want to do anything else, you just shut that off. On the left, we have the volume up and down. Obviously, I'm going to use that all the time, as well as some shortcuts to like make voice commands and stuff like that, or change modes. Again, I don't use the left one too much, mainly just the right one. We also have the little eye that's always watching you, which is part of that driving monitor system. So if you do turn your head away from the road, it'll just beep at you and say, focus, pay attention. It can be a little bit annoying, but it does make us better drivers. And because of that, we have traffic jam assist, which is a great feature that I've talked about in other videos as well. Okay, so sitting in the back seat of the RX, this light interior, even I notice from filming a big difference from the black interior. It really just lightens up the whole inside of the car. It has the panoramic roof, so that allows extra light. And the headliner is a very soft white as well. In fact, it matches the macadamia quite nicely. I think it's a different headliner from all the other interiors from what I can tell. So back here, we have some very comfortable seats. It is perforated leather because it is heated and cooled. So we have heated and cooled seats back here. We have some USB-Cs, not wireless charging. We have this armrest that comes down, and that has a brown insert for the cup holders. That's pretty standard issue. And a little spot for, I don't know, your phone or something. Just don't forget it and fold it up into the seat. We also have some Ultra Suede on the door as well as the seats themselves. And it is a really nice, comfortable feeling when you're sitting on the Ultra Suede trim seats. It's just a little bit extra comfort. It's like a really soft blanket. And that's what I think this whole interior is about, is soft. It's like a hug. Also, because it's executive, we have the curtains that go up. Now, usually with the window, it's a little bit easier to click in. I struggled a little bit there because the window is down, but that is a nice little hater blocker, as I call it. But mostly just to cut that light, the sunlight, especially if you have kids back here in a child seat, to be able to get that UV rays away from their face is nice. And then we have the electronic door latch on the door, a little Mark Levinson emblem on the speaker grille because this package has Mark Levinson, which is great. And overall, just a really comfortable design. It is a power reclining seat too, by the way. I always forget to mention that in videos. But yeah, it does power recline. So you can recline it quite a lot and have overall a very nice experience back here. Okay, before we wrap up the video and I go over what's changed, I want to show you under the hood. So under the hood, we have our 4-cylinder turbo engine that we've seen in the TX, the NX 350, as well as the RX. And under here, we have a whole lot going on. Depending on the configuration, we have either the battery in the front or in the back for the hybrid. We have this turbo emblem here with the Lexus emblem on top, and the turbo is tucked nicely on the back of the engine, so you can't really see it at all. We do have an insulated hood. I would say the TX might be a little more insulated, but I'm not sure. That might just be my opinion. And considering it's a Lexus, like when you look at things like the LS or the LC, where everything is covered, we can actually see a lot of components here, which is a good thing for mechanics because they like to be able to check on things. Overall, it's been quite well. That new engine is gonna be sort of a big step in future vehicles moving forward. And I know a lot of people say, well, it's a 4-cylinder, is this vehicle too big? I've been driving the RX for about a year now, and right now I'm driving a 2024 F Sport, and I don't know if this is official, but I was driving a 2023 before, and they didn't say anything changed, but the 2024 feels better in my opinion. Because of its lightweight and low center of gravity, I find the handling, especially when I'm going through traffic, is really accurate and nimble and athletic, and the turbo is punchy. So I have a roundabout that I go through every morning on my way to work, and you can accelerate up to 100 kilometers as soon as you get out of the roundabout, and when I punch it, I feel it in my seat. Like I get kind of thrown back a little bit. So don't knock it till you try it. The 4-cylinder does do a good job, especially with that transmission. And if you tried a 23 and didn't like it, I don't know, try the 24 because I think it did a good job. Okay, now for the moment you've been waiting for. Why did Lexus a few weeks ago send out a memo where they actually changed the suffixes of the vehicles to some new changes mid-cycle, like mid-year, because we're still a while before the 25s come out, and I'm gonna tell you why. So, we have a digital key that's been added to the Luxury and F Sport Series 2 packages. Don't know why they did that mid-year, but that means anything built after, I think, February 27th or something like that, is gonna have a digital key come with it from the factory. Also, we replaced Nebula Gray with Cloudburst Gray. It's about time for that. Nebula Gray has been sort of being phased out for a while now. Cloudburst Gray is sort of the new kid on the block when it comes to the grays. We also added Eminent White Pearl and Cloudburst Gray to the birch interior on the Ultra Luxury. We have Nori Green Pearl to Macadamia interior on the Executive. So in this package, with this interior, you can now get the Nori Green Pearl, which I spoke to someone about today, and they said that's the only way they would buy an RX is in the Nori Green. We also have a red interior to the Grecian Water on F Sport Series 3, so that's a big deal. The Grecian Water is that light color powder blue, so having the red interior is gonna be a really cool contrast. I think that's gonna be really cool. We did remove some things as well. So Lexus removed the Palomino interior on premium grade, so you can't get that interior on the base model anymore. Birch interior on luxury grade is now gone. And macadamia on luxury and ultra luxury grade, so this interior on both of those grades. Nightfall mica is gone from all the F Sport grades. It's too bad. I love Nightfall mica. I don't think it suited the F Sport as well as some of the other colors, but I did like that. And Nightfall mica and Grecian Water are removed on the F Sport Series 1, so same with the Grecian Water. Because of that, production ended February 29th on the previous sort of builds, and starting March 1st with those new suffixes. So there you have it. That is what's changed mid-cycle on the RX, but there wasn't any price change or anything like that. So there you have it. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe and let me know in the comments below if you like the 2024 RX, if you like this color combination, and if there's any other videos you want me to do, whether it's on this model, a different model, doesn't matter, I'm happy to do so. And I'll see you in the next video.